Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Hey guys, Professor Presbury back with another episode of Hey Professor, the show where we talk about healthcare management and business management. I am your Professor Javon M.H. Presbury. If you're wondering why I'm speaking a little more loudly, somebody just said to me, maybe you got to speak more loudly because the waves are going to be on your video. So if I'm yelling, it's not like I'm trying to yell, I'm just yelling. So you can definitely hear me, all right? The topic of today's video is going to be DNFB management. If you work in any kind of management in healthcare, let's say in an HIM or even a revenue cycle standpoint, you're going to become familiar with the DNFB, also known as the unbilled. DNFB is an acronym or an abbreviation that stands for discharge not final billed. What that means is that these are the cases or a list of cases that have been discharged from the facility but have not been quote-unquote final billed. So they're cases that are held up in the system for whatever reason, right? And this is very important because a lot of what a revenue cycle, a HIM leader, a health administration leader will focus on will be the DNFB and DNFB management. I've been healthcare management for some time, and what I will say is while every organization is the same, and that the DNFB is a list of cases that have been discharged but have not been finally billed and or collected, every organization is different in the topics that they will cover that will be the cause and the reason for them not being finally managed or finally billed. The reason for those will vary depending on your organization and the issues you face within. So I'll kind of cover a lot of those with you today. Some of the topics covered in the DNFB will things like admit orders, and that's a situation in which maybe your case is missing an admit order. The physician either forgot to or did not write an admit order for this inpatient stay. Therefore, it's not valid. It can be not completely coded out and billed out finally, and so that's why that one is holding. You'll also have cases that are holding for, let's say, imaging reports. If you have a situation in which a patient had a x-ray done, had some kind of MRI done, but that report is not available in the record, it cannot be billed and coded all the way through to completion. You have cases that are holding for a physician query. So a query, obviously, and I'll go over that in a separate video, you're basically asking the doctor to clarify something. So you may hold for a query. You're waiting for that doctor to get back to you with his answer. Another one is path reports. You may hold for path reports. If a operation was done and a specimen was taken and that was sent off to the path lab, you may wait and you may have to go over that and see what the results of that path were, because that may affect the diagnoses, and therefore it cannot be billed and coded without it. H&Ps. If a case or if a medical record does not have an H&P, it cannot be considered complete. There are lots of times where a physician may not have done their H&P, or they may not have submitted their H&P. So therefore, you have to have that as well. That H&P, without it, you cannot code and bill that all the way out to completion. Downgrade cases. A case where somebody internally, usually case management, has reviewed the case and has determined that this won't really work. If we send this up, if we code this as it is, as an inpatient, send it up to insurance, and I'll do a separate video about that, but send it up to insurance, it's likely to get kicked back or refused for that payment, and they're gonna want their money back, so we have to downgrade that. So that's what that is. You're basically taking an inpatient stay and turning it into something else because it may not reach the medical necessity. And lastly, you have discharge summaries. So with the discharge summary, obviously that's the end of the note. That's the end of the case. They're basically giving a summary of of the patient's stay, and you really need those as well in most cases to code and complete a medical record and then bill it out. So that really covers not all the types, many of the basic types. So now let's move into DNFB management and how you manage that. How you manage the DNFB really depends on the organization and how you approach things as a healthcare leader. But the honest truth is, a lot of it just comes down to communication. So you have to do, outreach. You have to reach out to these physicians via email, via fax in some cases even via phone call, to remind them that they have documents that they need to complete, because your facility depends on those documents for not only billing but also compliance as well. So you got to get your money and you have to become compliant. So reaching out to them and making them aware of that is important. And that's also why, having a good relationship with physicians is important, because some physicians, I'm not saying that they're going to withhold it just to give you a hard time, but I will go so far as to say that if you have a better relationship with them, then you're going to be able to bridge that gap much more quickly, and they're going to want to complete things just so they don't have any problems further down the line. DNFBs are usually kind of done on Excel spreadsheets, and they kind of break out. So they're kind of done on a pivot table and with the breakout function involved. So basically, you would double click on the option that you're interested in. It would break out into more details about that. What the patient's name, MRN, etc., what their insurance, all that stuff. And then that would allow you, as the administrator, as the leader, to kind of say, okay, I know what I need to do to get that done. Some, depending on the size of the facility, depending on the kind of facility, some people will kind of break that out themselves and send that out. Or maybe some of you will kind of automate that process. You'll kind of break that down, give it to your employees as a daily task to follow up with these physicians. And that's really it, guys. That's DNFB management. Again, I'll kind of intersperse and throw in a little bit of screen captured video so I can show you what that looks like. Obviously scrubbed of any patient details, but really to kind of give you guys an idea of what it looks like. All right, it's Professor Presbury. Have a good one, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Guys, Professor Presbury just back again. You know what? I realized I was going to make this one long video, but I think it'd actually be better as two. So we're going to do a little bit of a breakup, right? So this is just me throwing this in. This is going to be the closer for the first half of the DNFB video. So hope that you enjoy the next one. Bye. Intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character. That is the true goal of education.